How you doing, all? Today I'm actually going to hit on a topic because a buddy of mine asked me about it. We were talking about speed and where does speed really come from in getting around the kits. And I can only speak from experience that, he asked me whether it came from the wrists or whether it came from the fingers. Now, most of my speed, for what it's worth, comes from the wrist, but it is not inhibited by the fingers. Now, let me explain that a little bit, and maybe I can demonstrate for you. What I have found, whether I'm going around or whether I'm just doing pop accents, most of my action is coming from the wrist motion, never from the arms. But my fingers are not inhibiting the motion. And by that I mean, if I were to keep a death grip, what I call a death grip on the sticks as I'm going around, I start doing all kinds of crazy stuff, clicking sticks, banging into things. I'm actually inhibiting the stick by gripping it so tight. I can't tell you how many times that I've dropped sticks going around doing speed simply because I got used to holding them like this, and it would either slow me down as I was going along, and I tried to flex my muscles a little bit and get around, and I'd bang into things. What I found, especially when you're hitting a stick on a rim or something like that, a rim and cymbal, it's naturally going to try to knock it out of your hand. So I used to grip the sticks really, really tight. What I did find by doing that is that because my fingers were wrapped around really tight, granted I held on to them better, but it inhibits the actual speed of the playing. Makes you work when you do that because you're trying to get everything right from the wrist. I found that by using what I call the shock absorber grip, I mean, it's, I make up stuff all the time, what their things are called, but I tell my students about shock absorbers in a car. In a car, the shock absorber, when you're hitting a bump, say if this is the wheel and you're hitting a bump, if it was stiff like this, every time you hit a bump, boy, that whole car would jump. So they made shock absorbers to kind of slide up and down. Well, my sticks are not sliding up and down. What they are doing is my grip is kind of loosening and gripping so that when the stick kind of moves in my hand, kind of like, not vibrating, but it's not like really stiff in my hand. It's actually real relaxed. And by doing that, it's actually helping. It helps as I'm going along because I'm not having to fight the stick. Let's face it, when you're hitting the drum, the most natural thing that a stick wants to do when it comes down is come back up. It's actually got the spring of the head, and that's why electronic drums are so different feeling. It's actually got the spring of the head forcing the stick to come back. Every time you hit it, it's doing this. It's the old physics thing, hitting it with an immovable object. It wants to come back. So, if it wants to come back, why should I inhibit it down? If I do that, I'm taking all of the energy out of the stick. There's plenty of energy in that stick, and it will move for you. Have you ever noticed when you're playing that as you're playing and you build up that speed, and about that tempo, I am more concerned about pushing the stick down than bringing the stick back up. When I'm doing it slow, I like to bring the stick back up. I want my heels. And when I'm about that, I'm more concerned about getting it down. Why? Because the head is actually throwing the stick back. So I'm forcing it down, the head's forcing it back, and I'm doing that, and it's constant motion. And the same thing goes for when you even get faster. If you sit down there and fight the stick and grip it, you're tightening up everything in your arm and your speed slows down. So the most natural thing to do is relax and let the sticks move in your hand. And I use German grip basically. I'm not I'm going to explain about the two grips as it is in a little bit. But I use German grip, and I kind of let the stick kind of do this in my hand. I don't let go of it, but at the same time, it's kind of wobbly in there. It's nice and loose. That way, I'm not fighting the rebound, and I'm getting speed. I just mentioned something. There are 3 grips that I use for drumming. I'm an old fart, remember? Back when I started learning playing, I used traditional grip. And I know for you guys, traditional grip is really more of a rudimental thing or a jazz thing, but for me, that's how I learned to play. And being left-handed, I use traditional grip left-handed, which everybody goes, oh my God, which looks like this. I've learned to actually move the stick in traditional grip and let the stick move in my hand, not to choke it this way. So when I'm doing ghost notes, I've learned to use this traditional grip. I also used match grip. There are 2 match grips. And this is where my friend was talking about. This, with the wrists over to where you see in the knuckles, is German grip. This, flipped over where you're looking at your thumb, is all finger action French grip. So, the only French grip I've really ever used are some cymbal work on my left hand and for when I play timpani. If you want to see French grip used, go look at Jojo Meyer. He uses both, and he is the beast of French grip because I've never seen fingers move that fast. But getting back to the original statement, do you get speed from the fingers or the wrists? It depends on the grip, but moreover, it's a combination of making your wrist work and not inhibiting the natural bounce of the stick in your hand. So when you're playing, whether you're burning it up, or whether you're just playing along, stick move in that hand. Your control is here for both grips. Control is here, but let that stick kind of do its own snaky movement, if you want to call it that, and let it be free. Keep control, but let it be free. Keep your fingers wrapped around, but use the shock absorber method. That's my secret to going fast, if it is a secret.